Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I am going to be working with the Spellbinders Special Edition Merry Everything kit today, and I have made a full 25 cards with this kit. So I had planned on splitting this into 4 or 5 videos for you, but my weekend did not go as planned. I ended up having to go out of town. So since I wasn't able to post anything on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to instead split this into 2 different videos. So this is going to be a little bit longer than usual. It's running at about 25 minutes or so, but I will have 12 of the cards in this half, and then I will have the other 13 in the second half, which I hope to have up for you tomorrow. These longer videos take a little bit longer to edit, but I will get it up for you as soon as possible. So I have jumped in here to working with the die that was included. I love this little Christmas bug with the tree on top and of course the ribbon to hold that tree down there. I love that they have made this with the tree separate so you can use this die for different types of cards and just put the card together. I have for the most part used the cardstock that was included in the kit, but I did pull in a yellow and a pink from my stash. I will link those colors for you in my blog post if you're curious which ones that I used. And I'm just getting everything layered together here. This was super detailed. I think I ended up making about 8 of these. There are lots of little pieces to cut out, but I think that the end result is just oh so worth it. It's beautifully detailed, and this was a lot of fun to work with. So let's go ahead here and place this on a card. I'm jumping into card number 1. I do have this video running a little faster than normal. I usually put it at 200% for you. Today I've got it at 300 so we can fit all of these cards in. I've kept a lot of these really simple. I did take the cardstock that was included and I've trimmed that down into panels that will fit the full front of my card. So that will be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've pulled in one of the red panels here and I'm layering on top of that one of these larger of the Project Life cards. I then pulled in that Santa sticker and I've got one of these snowflake ephemera pieces. I'm going to use some art glitter glue to place that down, and then that other little portion there I will have peeking up off the bottom. And now I'm going to bring that Santa sticker back in. I'll grab some of the foam dots and add that to the back of my car and then get that pressed down here into place. I have left out gluing down the front panel to the card base for I think all of the cards just to save time, but I did do my usual adding some art glitter glue to the back and then placing that down on top of my card base. Here I've grabbed one of the clear stickers. I really loved these clear stickers. They were great to finish off the inside of the cards. I've placed that down there on a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, added some double-sided tape to the back, and I'll place that here on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. Card number 2 is going to be a super quick one. I've grabbed another one of these larger Project Life cards, trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4, added some tape to the back here, and I'm going to place that directly on top of my card base. I love these little cats. I think they're so cute. I especially love that little gray one down at the bottom there that's winking at you. I then grabbed one of the matching ephemera pieces. I'm going to pop that up with some foam dots, and I'm going to place that right over top of the same one here on my card front. Then I'm going to grab one of these little fa la la arrows. This was on one of the sticker sheets, and I'm going to place that down towards the bottom there. For the inside, I'm again using one of those clear stickers that reads, "Don't get your tinsel in a tangle." Just using my ruler there to make sure I get that nice and straight. Again, I will add some double-sided tape to the back. That is a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'll place that on the inside of my card base. That completes card number 2. Here for card number 3, I'm working on one of the red bases that I had trimmed from the cardstock. Again, this measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to add some rows of that double-sided tape there, peel away the backing, and then I've grabbed one of the pattern papers and I'm just going to place that down directly on top of this panel. And once I have that in place, I will go ahead and trim away my excess. I then also trimmed off a small piece, just slightly larger than 1/4 of an inch, from some MFT black licorice cardstock. I've grabbed another one of these clear stickers, and the portion that is white, I just wanted to highlight that a little more, so I'm just placing that bottom section over top of this black strip, and then I'll add some double-sided tape behind that here. Peel away the backing, and I'll run that across the front of my card. I'll go ahead and trim away the excess, and then for a little something more, I've grabbed my white Jelly Roll pen and added a dashed line just going up the side of that red background there. I've trimmed off about 1/4 of an inch of that wood grain paper, placed that along the bottom of my Neenah panel, and here I'm going to stamp out my season's greetings using my Close to My Heart black ink. Added some double-sided tape to the back, and I'll place that here on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 3. Here for card number 4, I'm trimming down some of this very glittery red cardstock. I thought this was just so beautiful. And I've trimmed that to the front of my card size, so it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've then grabbed this red sentiment paper, and I'm going to trim that down to 4 by 5 1/4. I've pulled in another one of these Project Life cards, one of the smaller ones this time. I'll add some ATG and place that down on a little bit of an angle there. Then I've got another one of the cards that I created, and again I'll pop that up using some foam dots. This time I've pulled in some of my sticky thumb dots, and I'll press that here down on top of my panel. For the inside, I'm stamping out the Sentiment Season's Greetings. I have pulled in my American Crafts Emerald ink, and then a strip of some of the green cardstock that came in the kit, added some ATG there, and I'll run this along the bottom of my panel. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that here on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 4. Here for card number 5, I'm pulling in another one of the larger Project Life cards, again trimming that to 4 by 5 1/4. I've added some double-sided tape to the back, and I'll place this on top of one of my black panels. I've also pulled in one of the tree ephemera. I'm going to pop that up with some of the foam dots. And I will trim off just a tiny sliver from the edge of my dot paper here, just to make sure that that stump at the bottom there or trunk at the bottom there doesn't get bent. And press that into place. I've stamped out the sentiment here, Love, Peace, and Joy, using some Lawn Fawn Red Lobster ink. And I've got a piece of the pink cardstock. This is Sweet Blush from Paper Tray Ink. Again, about 1/4 of an inch. I've placed that along the bottom. I'll add some tape to the back of my panel and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 5. Here for card number 6, I'm pulling in yet another one of these larger Project Life cards. I really had a lot of fun working with these. They made for some really nice, simple, easy to create cards. I have trimmed this down, and let me grab my ruler to get you measurements here. This larger piece measures about 4 inches by 3 3/4. So that's 4 inches high, 3 3/4 across. I did end up trimming that, so mine here is probably slightly larger. And then the top one is about 1/4 of an inch. I've gone ahead here and added some foam tape to the back, and I'm going to press these into place. I do have a background panel from the gold foil that is trimmed to the full card size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I've trimmed out that white present paper to 4 by 5 1/4. Here I'm going to press these pieces from the Project Life card down, and then I will trim off the excess. I've also grabbed in this Merry sentiment from the ephemera pack, again popping that up with some foam tape. I'll peel away the backing and press that down as well. For the inside, I've grabbed one of the stickers. This reads ho ho ho. Just pressing that down there on my panel, and then I've grabbed one of the leftover pieces of this snowflake pattern from the Project Life card, added some tape to the back, pressed that down, trimmed away the backing, and here I'll add my panel to the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 6. Card number 7 is a little bit of a longer one. Here I'm trimming off some pieces from the green cardstock, and I left these at about 1 inch wide, so I've got 3 of them here. And then I'm gonna layer these together to create a tree. I wanted to sort of put a tree over top of the one that was already there to give a little bit more texture and dimension. So I have trimmed these to about 1 inch wide, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my score tool here and score them right down the center. Gonna layer all 3 of them together here, and then I'm just checking to see the length of that tree. I'm gonna just make this large enough to cover that up, and then I'll take my scissors, and while I'm holding all 3 pieces together, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out a sort of tree shape for what's there. I will go back around here again and just sort of slightly trim this down a little bit more, trying to keep it as even as I can with that score line there. Once I'm happy with my shape, I'll go ahead and fold that, and I'm going to staple this all together here in the middle just to help me keep everything held down. I will have that covered over with a bow once this is finished. I'm going to take my Martha Stewart Fringe scissors just to create some branches on my tree, not cutting the whole way through, just almost all the way into that score line. And once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and fluff these up, just pulling things apart so that I'll get a little bit more texture and dimension. I have cut most of this out because I did play around with this for quite a while until I got the look that I wanted. I'm adding some art glitter glue just down the center there, and I'm going to place that right on top of the other tree. Just sort of fiddling around with that until I get some texture that I like. I'm also pulling in some of the baker's twine that was included, and I'm going to create a little notch at the top and the bottom of the car here just to help hold that in place when I tie it. I do end up here in a second trimming off the tops of the bow just to make it a little bit easier. And then again, I'm going to cut out the length of time it took me to get a bow I was happy with, but I did tie that twine into a bow and added a little dot of glue to hold that in place and cover my staple. Here I pulled in a few more of the ephemera pieces. I'm going to have this read Merry and Bright. I'm going to glue these right down on top of my panel. I have popped my car up with some sticky thumb foam dots. I'll peel away the backing here and place that down on top of my panel. For the inside, I've got another Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm pulling in another one of these ephemera sentiments that reads "'Tis the Season." Added some ATG to the back of that panel, placed that here on the inside of my card base, And that will complete card number 7. For card number 8, I've trimmed down this tree. It sort of reminds me of sprinkles, this pattern paper does, and it's trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I've grabbed this striped project life card, and I'm adding here one of the clear sentiment stickers. I'm going to pull in a few more stickers. I'm going to add this joy chipboard sticker below that. And then off to the side, I will pull in these little candy chipboard stickers, just placing all 3 of those in a row, just like they are on the sheet there. I'll also grab some of the papers from those Dear Santa letters. I'm going to layer a couple of those at the top portion of this Project Life card. I didn't actually end up using any of those envelopes. I really liked them, but for some reason I just didn't have any cards that I felt like they worked on, so they'll just go in my stash for next time. Once I'm happy with the placement of the papers, I will go ahead and add some ATG and press those into place, just curling up those edges to give a little bit more texture. I have pulled in here one of these glossy stickers, this black arrow. I wanted to get a little bit more black since I had some with that candy piece at the top there. I'll add some ATG to the back of that Project Life card and press that down on top of my panel. For the inside, I'm adding in this I've Been Good sticker, and I will finish up the bottom of this panel with that leftover piece of that sprinkle pattern paper. I'll add some ATG and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 8. Here for card number 9, I have got one of my green cardstock panels, and I've added down this red polka dot pattern paper trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I pulled in a bunch of the pieces of ephemera, and I'm going to grab one of these Mary stickers and place that down on top of some black licorice cardstock. Just wanted to add a little bit more black to the front of the card, so I'll add a little bit of a border around there. Probably I'd say about 1/8 of an inch. And I'll go ahead and get all of my ephemera put into place. So I'm going to glue everything flat down here except for the black tree and my Merry Sentiment. I will go ahead and pop those up using some foam dots. For the inside here, I'm stamping out the sentiment Season's Greetings, again using that Close to My Heart black ink. I'll pull in again a little more black from the front using some of this striped pattern paper, running that along the bottom. Adding some double-sided tape to the back, I'll press my panel on the inside of my card base, and that will complete card number 9. Here for card number 10, I wanted to add some of this vellum to the front of my card panel here. I have pulled in a black panel, again, trimmed to the size of my card base, so that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. What I did here was measure out the angle that I wanted to have this on the front of my card base, and then I drew a pencil line around the 3 edges that touched. I have trimmed that out with about 1/4 of an inch on the outside of that pencil edge, and that will allow me to fold this over and get a really nice clean edge along the side of that while also not having to worry about any of the glue showing behind it. So I did use some art glitter glue, just putting a very small dot of that behind all of the foiled stars so you won't be able to see that glue at all. I'm going to go ahead here and just trim off the corners just so that it's not too bulky. And then I'll run some 1/8 of an inch score tape along all 3 edges and fold those over to the back of my panel. I've pulled in this project life card that reads warm wishes, and then there were 2 smaller matching sweaters that went along with this that came in the ephemera pack. I'm going to take both of those, I'm just sort of laying them out here, and then I will pop them up with some foam dots and press those into place. I'll trim away that excess there. And for my inside panel, I'm adding in one of the sticker sentiments that reads Season's Greetings. I'll finish off this panel with one of the black snowflakes, just adding that sort of peeking up about halfway from the bottom there. I'll add some ATG to the back, place that on the inside of my card base, and that will complete card number 10. Here for card number 11, I'm again pulling in some of that beautiful red glitter pattern paper, and I've trimmed that to the front of my card base, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You've got the darker red, almost maroon snowflake that's trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to layer these 2 together here. I've pulled in 2 of the smaller project life cards. I'm going to layer these as well, just putting those on a slight angle. This Santa Photos was one of my favorite of the cards. I just thought this was really cool. Making sure I've got all my edges glued down there, nice and tight. And then I'm going to pull in this 25 glitter sticker, popping that up here with some foam dots. And I'll press that into place. I'll also grab this glitter arrow and I'm going to press that down as well. Trim off that excess there. Then I felt like it needed a little something more, so I wanted to pull in a black element. I've grabbed this Believe clear sticker and I'm going to place that down. And then finally, I'll grab one of the black arrow stickers and I'm going to place that down as well. For the inside, I'm stamping out the sentiment Merry Xmas, again using that emerald ink from American Crafts. And then I will pull in this bright sentiment. I'm just going to place that down with the banner edge sort of hanging over, and I'll trim that off to make that nice and clean along the side. Add some ATG to the back, place that on the inside of my card base, and that will complete card number 11. Card number 12 is going to be my final card for this video. I have used one of the maroon backgrounds from the cardstock, trimmed my black and white pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to layer those 2 together here. And then I pulled in these 3 ornaments, just creating a little cluster of those there. I'm going to pop those up with some of my sticky thumb dots, and I've added that joy sentiment towards the bottom there. I've also pulled in some gold string from my stash. This is very thin, it's almost a thread, and I'm not quite sure where I got it from. I have gone ahead here and placed all of my ornaments down and into place, and I'm going to run this string coming up from behind them. So I have taken a glue dot and I'm going to press that underneath where the string would be attached. And then I've doubled over this thread because it is so thin. And I'm just going to press that thread onto the glue dot, and then I will wrap the string around the top of the panel. This was a little finicky, but I really like the look of the thin gold strand once it's attached. I'll add some ATG there at the top of the back of the panel and just wrap this around, and that'll hold that down nice and tight. I'll trim off that excess here. And then for my inside, I'm again stamping with that emerald ink, that Merry Xmas sentiment. I had an extra piece from that Project Life card that we used earlier left over. I'm going to place that along the bottom here. Add some ATG to the back. And I'll place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 12. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.